settle in. Or don't. I don't care. Just listen. Because we need to talk about the stories. Not the bedtime kind. Not the epic sagas of heroes and dragons, though those have their place in the grand distraction. I'm talking about the other stories. The invisible ones. The ones blasted from every headline, every news report, every curated feed. The stories that tell you who the good guys are, who the villains are, what's important, and what you should conveniently ignore. The stories woven by the media to control you. Welcome to narrative warfare. Let's keep it plain. Your screen isn't a window. It's a stage. Angles chosen, lines rehearsed, props set. You're given the feeling of seeing everything while being steered around the blind spots. That's how the machine runs, on stories. The system, that grand grinding edifice of, well, this. It runs on these media-spun stories. It's built on them. It is them, amplified and broadcast 24/7. Let's not be abstract. Think about how major conflicts have been justified in the past. Remember the relentless claims about invisible threats, repeated across every outlet, fueled by sources and somber officials. The media, with few exceptions, became a conveyor belt for a story that led to devastation, profit for contractors, and geopolitical chaos. The threats vanished like a mirage, but the narrative did its job. Perception was altered, consent was manufactured. Who benefited? Not the ordinary people caught in the middle, not the soldiers sent into the meat grinder. Or think about a recent public spectacle where one figure was painted as a populist hero and another as an existential threat. Both narratives, amplified by algorithms and partisan outlets, often obscured more complex realities. Was it about real substance? Or was it about ratings, about clicks, about keeping the populace locked in a perpetual state of outrage and division? The narrative wasn't just about the people involved. In many ways, the media itself became the show, and everyone was hooked. The narrative became the spectacle, and the spectacle became the reality for millions. Look also at how ongoing conflicts are framed. Heroes and villains are drawn sharply, while deeper historical contexts or alternative paths are often downplayed or outright dismissed. The human cost is undeniable, tragic. But ask yourself, whose global and economic interests are served by these unwavering narratives? Who profits from the endless flow of supplies and the reshaping of markets? The story you're fed is designed to elicit a specific emotional response and solidify support for a particular course of action, often sidelining uncomfortable questions about escalation or long-term consequences. Even in wealthy regions, narratives around economic crises are spun carefully. Pain is sold as necessary discipline, while those who cause the crisis are often bailed out or spared. The media largely parroted the official line, framing protesters as irresponsible or lazy, effectively shaping public acceptance of policies that deepened inequality. And during recent large-scale emergencies, dissenting voices were often labeled as dangerous, shutting down debate in the name of a unified narrative. The choice of words, the images selected, the experts interviewed, every element is used to shape your perception. They create a reality tunnel, and most people never even realize they're in it. These aren't isolated incidents. This is the playbook. Think your opinions are formed in a vacuum after seeing all that? Cute. Ever wonder why entire populations suddenly rally behind a cause, or why your understanding of a complex global event fits neatly into a 2-minute news package? That's not organic understanding. It's narrative shaping by the media. They're not just reporting events, they're framing your reality, selling you an approved interpretation, a pre-digested worldview. And we consume it, voraciously. Because these media narratives are expertly crafted. They offer outrage, they offer comfort, they offer a villain to blame, a hero to adore. They tell you, this is what's happening, this is who to trust, this is what you should be angry about today. The endless scroll, the breaking news alerts, the talking heads all shouting the same rehearsed lines. It's a masterclass in controlling the public conversation. This isn't just about a few biased reporters. It's systemic. It's the ownership structures of media conglomerates with their own agendas. It's the advertising revenue that dictates what kind of content gets prioritized. If it bleeds, it leads, or if it sells, it tells. It's the social media algorithms acting as gatekeepers of information, creating echo chambers where their narratives are amplified and dissenting voices are drowned out or deprioritized or hidden. You think you're browsing the news? No, the news, and the narratives it pushes, are browsing you, tailoring the manipulation. They tell you it's about informing the public, about journalistic integrity. Sometimes, maybe. But more often, it's about manufacturing consent. It's about setting the agenda. It's about ensuring the Overton window, the range of acceptable public discourse, stays exactly where those in power want it. Critical thought that strays too far. Label it misinformation, conspiracy theory. Drown it in a flood of officially sanctioned fact checks that often just reinforce the dominant narrative. Think again how those crises, wars, conflicts, financial meltdowns, were and are reported. Notice the recurring techniques, loaded phrasing, dramatic visuals, and a carefully curated roster of experts. The result is the same. Attention is steered, options are pre-labeled, and ambiguity gets stripped out. Think about the stories the media doesn't tell with the same fervor, the systemic injustices that get minimal airtime, the corporate crimes that are buried on page 16 while celebrity gossip or the latest political spat dominates the headlines. The complex geopolitical realities that are flattened into simplistic, good versus evil fairy tales. Silence is also a narrative weapon. What they don't show you, what they don't talk about, shapes your understanding just as much as what they do. These media narratives are so pervasive, they become the lens through which we see everything. We absorb them, repeat them, defend them, often without realizing their origin or their purpose. They limit our ability to imagine alternatives. They keep us from asking the truly dangerous questions about the media itself. Whose interest does this story serve? What are they not telling me? Why this narrative, right now? That's the core of this particular battlefield. It's not just about the stories told, it's about who controls the megaphone. It's about the architecture of information dissemination itself being a tool of control. It's about making their version of reality the only one that seems plausible. Well, I saw it on the news. How often is that uttered as the final word, the ultimate validation? That's a surrender to their narrative authority. They want you glued to the screen, consuming their pre-packaged outrage, their manufactured dramas. They want you to believe their framing is the only framing. They want your clicks, your views, your shares, because that's the currency of their influence, the fuel for their narrative machine. So, what's the play? How do you fight when the enemy controls the airwaves and the algorithms? You start by becoming a conscious consumer of media. You dissect their stories. Every headline, every report, every viral video. Ask, cui bono? Who benefits from me believing this? What emotional buttons are they trying to push? What's the unspoken agenda? Question the source, always. Diversify your information diet. Seek out independent voices, alternative perspectives, even those you disagree with. Understand the common propaganda techniques, fear-mongering, scapegoating, glittering generalities, bandwagon effects. Develop a bullshit detector so finely tuned it screams when a narrative stinks. It's not about rejecting all information, it's about reclaiming your critical faculties. It's about understanding that the news is a product constructed and sold like any other. This isn't easy. It means resisting the pull of simplistic narratives. It means doing your own research, thinking for yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. It means being the person who doesn't just parrot the latest talking points. It's a lonely fucking road sometimes, when everyone around you is contentedly grazing in the media-curated pasture. But the alternative? The alternative is to be a passive recipient of their programming. A well-informed puppet, dancing to the tune they play. A character in their global, never-ending reality show. The media narratives are powerful, yes, but their power diminishes the moment you look behind the curtain. The moment you start to question their authority, their framing, their intent. So look at your screens, listen to the broadcasts, read the feeds, but do it with new eyes. Start pulling apart their narratives. Start seeking out the stories they don't want you to hear, because the most dangerous act in this war is to think for yourself, to construct your own understanding, and to realize that this entire media dam system thrives on your uncritical compliance. They're betting you'll keep tuning in and nodding along. Prove them wrong.